With us today, we have ESPN correspondent Max Soto and ex-wide receiver Derek Williams from Ole Miss debating about college athletes being paid. Let's hop over to the other studio and see that debate.
Welcome to Sportscenter. I'm Max Soto, and today with us we have Derek Williams, ex-collegiate athlete from Ole Miss.
Thank you for having me.
Today we're going to discuss whether or not college athletes should be paid, something that has been debated a lot recently.
My personal take, obviously, being a collegiate athlete, I truly think that they should be paid, especially after all of the work that we do and provide all the money for the school, especially a lot of funds that goes to art, band, choir, and then numerous other things. So I believe they should be paid. I don't know what you think, Max.
Okay. So you're saying they should be paid because of the money they bring into the school?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, so what about just regular academic students that don't necessarily bring a lot of money in while they're there, but turn around and donate a lot of money when they leave and have their jobs?
Well, there's a difference there because both of them are going to work after college. Someone will go pro and turn around and give money back. But the huge difference is between a college athlete and just a regular student at university is they can work. The NCAA prohibits the student athletes from working, so that's kind of hard. So if you have a student who is in 20 hours and is in a sorority and numerous other things, they can still find time to work, but on the athlete's hand, they can't, even if they wanted to, can work. So they're prohibited to get money.
Yes, but more college athletes are provided full-ride scholarships as a percentage than students as a percentage that are provided full-ride for their school. So they're actually paying more to get their education, while the athletes are paying less to get their education because they're having it paid for, just as a percentage. So obviously there's less athletes on a full-ride scholarship than academia, but there's also less college athletes than there are students. So, and if you were to compare the money that comes into university as on the hands of the student athletes to the millions, if not billions of dollars that someone like David Booth at KU turns around and donates to KU, I mean, that is more money than one athlete's going to bring to the university during their 2 to 4 years.
Yes, that is true, that athletes may not do it as much now, but you have to realize that even though there are scholarship athletes, there's only 4 sports that can give them out, which are women's volleyball, men's basketball, women's basketball, and football. So it's only 4 sports. Then there's a lot of other options that you have to look at, which, especially with like a women's soccer team, for example, they're out there busting their butt just as hard as the football team or basketball team, but they're only getting so much. And with those, you have so much scholarship, so you have to divvy them up. So they're still bringing in that money for schools because of their hard work and, the TV deals, which are enormous, by the way. So I think it kind of goes both ways, that you should kind of pay them for all the work that they do, since they can't work.
Sounds like your main problem is that they limit full-ride scholarships to 4 sports, not necessarily that the people in those 4 sports need to get paid.
No,
they're the ones that aren't struggling so you have someone, the big man on campus playing for KU, they're going to be just fine, while you have the star women's soccer player. Then the difference is that the big basketball star is going to be getting paid a full-ride scholarship, while the one who's bringing in probably the entirety of the money to the women's soccer program has to pay to go to school and dedicate all of her time to the sport. So I would say, yes, I agree with you that every sport should have the ability to give full rides to their athletes. But how do you propose that we fix the problem that you say, even with the athletes in the 4 sports? So how should they be paid? Like, how do you determine, should the better player get paid more like it is in the NBA, or should they all get paid the same? And how do you base their wage?
I feel like you should do a scholarship option. I feel like there should be more scholarships divvied out, especially with the amount of money, with schools like ESPN or KU, for example, making a deal with ESPN for $20 million for the next 4 years, and that's still not accounting ticket sales, all the ads that are in the stadiums and venues, and also the t-shirt sales and other memorabilia, because that is a huge, huge part of the industry. For example, Johnny Manziel last year, who everyone knew, so he had one of the most popular jerseys, so, he brought in multi-million-dollar or many millions of dollars to Texas A&M just because of his jersey. So, I think that should account for something. And although, yes, more people should get scholarships, but I think they should earn more money, definitely, or get some sort of money, because if you have low-income kids, I mean, sure, they might be able to get free meals, but they're limited to so many, so I don't know why you should tell a kid, he's not going to have food for this one night, so you have to find hot dogs or whatever.
Yeah.
Or if, your car breaks down, where's that money going to come from? So I just think with all the hard work and dedication, they should be getting some money.
So then would you have athletes all be paid the exact same, or would you have someone like Johnny Manziel be paid more than, say, his center that he takes the snap from every time?
Personally, I would give everyone the same amount of money, because they all put around the same amount of time, although some may do extra workouts here and there, but they're also there at practice in the morning, going to class, and then practice as well. So I don't think it's fair, if
I agree.
Johnny Manziel brings in millions of dollars, then you should give him a lot of money and not his center. So
Yes, I agree
it
with
just
that.
kind of depends.
But so how then would you base their wage? Would they be on a salary system, or how would you ideally, if you were in charge of this worldwide or nationwide, how would you construct this new system where the college athletes are getting?
I would kind of give it a salary thing, because
Sorry about the technical difficulties. So we'll come back to Derek, who is discussing how he would construct the system of college athletes getting paid.
I would definitely put it on a salary basis, because most athletes are in the same range of practice hours, where they're going to practice in the morning, doing class, having some sort of film or team meetings, and then they're also going in and practicing, and then game scheduled or meets depending on what kind of sport there is. So their times are pretty much the same. Some people are different. Some people might travel more. For example, basketball has 40 games, travels 2 or 3 times a week, so it's a little different, but their hours about the same. So I would definitely do a salary pay.
Would you have every sport then get paid the same?
I would have every sport get same amount of pay, because it's usually.
I would agree that every sport should get paid the same, but like you said, you had a good point where some athletes would put in more hours. So to fix that to where every athlete's getting paid the same wage, I would do an hourly wage, because then it's fair, because every hour you put towards that sport you're getting paid for. But then the athlete, because you never know, some of the college women's soccer teams that we keep bringing up could be putting in more hours than the basketball team.
Yeah,
We
which
just
is
don't know
true.
it.
Yeah.
And so then they should deserve more money because they're putting more time towards it. So an hourly wage, in my opinion, would be the best solution to that, instead of that minimum wage or just above it, whatever the average college student can make with the opportunity to have a job.
Yeah, it could be, definitely. And yeah, I say it should be getting some sort of money, because they struggle sometimes to even find food. I don't know if you ever seen Jalen Rose, one of your colleagues, when he came out in the Fab Five documentary.
Yeah.
He was talking about how they would get back and they would see all their memorabilia being worn on campus and all this stuff, but they didn't get accounted for it, which is another huge point, because athletes, even though they bring in all this memorabilia money, they don't get a dime of it, which is kind of a huge thing too, because he's, like he said, his coach pulls up in a nice Lexus, and then they have to go back to their dorm and eat ramen noodles or cereal, which in my opinion isn't too fair, but that's just what I think. And I know some people would agree with me, some people would not side with me, so it just kind of depends on what people think and what side of the spectrum you're on.
Alright. Well, it's nice to be here.
Alright, thank you for having me.
We'll take it back to the main studio.